Mufasa, quick! Stampede in the gorge. Simba's down there.
Simba?
Gotcha, don't worry, brother. Oh my god. I'm going to tell my kids that was ranked assault. But the reality is our dear friend Lermy Wormy is a bug fixer at high res and was showing off the dev tool live on stream. So that's what you get to watch while I go into another Dayquil-infused ramble. Do you ever wish you could experience something again? First time reading your favorite show, first time watching your favorite book. Sure, you could just eat it again, but not everything holds well upon reiteration. Some things are based in surprise, novelty, or pandering, not to be confused with kung fu pandering. But even the things that held well over the years for you don't have the same kick it used to. Oh, if I could just forget. If I could just forget and experience it all over again. You can put the pencil down, my friend. You don't need that lobotomy after all, because there's a little thing called innovation. In common day jargon, in simple terms, it generally means to take something that already exists and make it better. But it's a bit of a conundrum because innovation is new, innovation is change, innovation is different, but not everything that is new, changed, or different is innovative. And while it is new, different, and change, innovation also delivers a consistent experience. Even I, who would consider my taste to be a bit eclectic, know that at my core I'm looking for a consistent experience. Prior to now, I think it was a little easier to note this if you followed franchises. I still hold 2011 was the best year for video games. Yes, we had some new IPs coming through like Bastion, created by Supergiant Games, which also made Hades, which just got Game of the Year in the BAFTAs. Hades is the exact same fundamentals as Bastion. It's got the same weaponry, same moveset. The original was just heavily focused on narrative. So even though it has its NG+, the replayability kind of fades out. But they innovated on the combat. And I'm not saying they added more weapons. They added more ways to play with the same weapons. They've added more ways to play the same game after you've beaten it. Changing from Skypunk aesthetic to mythology was not innovation, it's just different. The same car, but in red, is still the same car. But they innovated on the car, and then they painted it red. And then back to 2011, do you have Whiplash yet? A lot of the big hits were continuations. Portal 2, Arkham City, Elder Scrolls was trucking along with Skyrim, Dark Souls on Demon Souls, Modern Warfare 3, Battlefield 3. Saints Row the Third, Dead Space 2, Crysis 2. And it's not as if all of these were the final iterations either. Portal knows when to call it quits, the rest of them kept going. And this might just be my jaded opinion, but it didn't feel like the newer games just grabbed you the same way the old ones did. They were okay for someone coming into the series, right? But for someone who was around for a while, it feels like same car but in green, same car but in blue. The biggest crime for me was those that sort of Frankenstein older models or other people's cars. And feel free to steal from other things, but does it fit what you're cooking? Paragon, yeah, Hearthstone was in its prime. That doesn't mean you steal their card looting mechanic and put it into a MOBA. For those of you who know Smite but not Paragon, you know how all the items have different tiers? Okay, imagine taking all those tiers, putting them on cards, putting them in chests, and then making you buy them with in-game currency that you earn by playing the game or pay for them outright. And it was a game enunciating that you could have different builds on the same character. And that's what happens when you focus too much on trends to find innovation. It was new. It was different. It didn't make anything better. It was not innovative. And funny enough, it was made by the same company that made Fortnite that got huge by innovating on an already existing genre. Simplify things to their core, make it fast, add building. Who cares if you were the first to develop something? In this industry, you want to be the last one standing. It juxtaposes back in my day where the game was the game. You bought the game, that's all that came with it. Internet coming through, DLC becomes a thing, but now you've got these online games. Maybe we're already playing it, but it's not far-fetched to think that a game will gain immortal relevancy, if done correctly. From a business perspective, there's a finite amount of people playing video games, and after you hit a peak, it's more difficult to get more players. So instead of selling your product to new players, you sell your product to the players you already have. Whereas before they'd make another game, now we have things like battle passes. It says something when a giant like Call of Duty is moving into this market because there is potential here. There's all the background information for the following discussion. I've been cramming all that stuff into my head for about a week, so what can we do from here? Firstly, Smite 2, don't just take it as a literal sequel to the game, but as a concept, an idea. It's not a continuation, it's more like Dota 2. Dota 1 used to be a mod. It was made into a standalone game so they could have better technology to continue its progression. But Smite is a standalone game. As discussed prior, not all games are created with immortal relevancy in mind, so some games may not have issues within a year, second year, third year. But anyone who's played Factorio knows, failure to plan is a plan to fail. Spaghetti code starts coming up. If you don't understand coding, just imagine physical electrical wiring. It wasn't so bad when you had to plug in like 5 things. Then you gotta put in another 10 on what already exists, and then another 10, until eventually 5,000 things have been put in, all somehow connected with each other on a tight deadline. It gets to looking like mom's spaghetti, and it gets harder and harder to keep dealing with it, to the point where the dev team has to make an official statement saying, yeah, the coding is falling apart. Now, another issue is legacy code. So say the old electrical guy plugged in 1,000 things, quit his job and left. It's your first day on the job, you've got 10 wires to plug in, but there's 1,000 already. 1,000 wires of mom's spaghetti. You don't know what goes to where, you don't know what you can and can't touch. You got maybe some sticky notes, some schematics the old guy left around, but he was the only one who could really make any sense of it, and that's where those examples of Call of Duty came from. After Modern Warfare 2, the original team left, they made Titanfall, and then they later made Apex Legends. So if you're wondering why the COD series has been dragging and Apex Legends feels like that old COD fun, it's because it's the same Modern Warfare team. So to make the suggestion for Smite Game 2 is to suggest, hey, the foundation is crumbling, and so you can either make a new game, which is just make a new game, right? No, it's very difficult, very expensive, or needing an entire overhaul. We know Smite Game was not intended to make it this far. It's not good business to bleed in the water, the sharks will get you. Is Smite dying? What are they supposed to say? Yes? As far as Smite's health is concerned, it's closer to a tumor, maybe an aneurysm. Could die today, could die tomorrow, could die years from now, live a perfectly healthy life, if it were not for the concept of immortal relevancy. Imagine, back in 2013, the amount of games that you could say would be supported 8 years later, and now games are being designed with that in mind. So we're stuck somewhere in between with old games like Minecraft, League of Legends, Dota, CSGO, and newer games like Valorant. I'm sure even Rogue Company is built better for expansion. It at least is on Unreal Engine 4. We're on Unreal Engine 3. Not only is it was old when we got it, thus the need for the actual foundation to be overhauled if you plan this game going any further. But we're in such a weird position because the best thing would be to take like 6 months and to just fix the core game, but the amount of people that would leave because they're not getting new stuff would maybe kill the game. It's such a strange community because they love and support the game, but if the game tries to love and support itself, they leave, and their decisions are ruled by those people. We're about to get a new god. The game is so buggy right now, the servers are unstable. Balance is another thing entirely. We just got West Coast servers, and the matchmaking got worse because of it. I would love if they took the next 6 months to just fix what already exists, but even that thought there already has some of you going, nah, no, I need new stuff. It's very self-interested, but I can't fault you. It's consumerism. So fixing the tech. Second point, innovation. Smite does have innovation, but there's always something that makes it redundant. So global anti-heal. Ooh, we're nerfing regular anti-heal. What? New lovely starters that evolve into finishers. Awesome. Some are too oppressive to allow others to exist. Some are useless. And the games pretty much end by the time some of you get your finishers, so you don't get to play with this awesome stuff for long. Okay, more stuff in the duo lane so you can experiment with compositions, but if your composition sucks at clearing, you're gonna miss out on XP and not hit level 2. And I know that's all conquest stuff, and I'm a conquest guy, but I feel like the other game modes would kind of just let down. And that's your biggest demographic. I feel there is a desire for innovation, and it shows. It really sums up my feelings with Tiamat. Like that 1 on ground stance should have been Bakasura's, the 2 could have been innovation on Geb, the 3 for Neath. The Ultin fly stance for Nuwa, maybe? And you make a big hoopla about this rounded triangle, this pointy circle stun. Oh, look, the same thing as before, but now it's a trapezoid. Baba Yaga's 1 is any random letter in the word YOLO. I can already see it coming. We're just waiting for the we got more characters in League of Legends and Dota, bigger number, better MOBA. That was a big selling point in the early stages of Smite. Oh my god, they bring out more characters, more faster than the other games. Wow, this one is boring. This one's broken. Quality over quantity for immortal relevancy. At this point, I don't know who's milking who. At some point, the tables turned and the Smite whales are going, yes, serotonin, work, serotonin minion. Can we just fix the game, please? It's falling apart. No, new stuff now. Oh yeah, that buzz. I'm sure by now it's like 1,000 players funding everything. And I have a suspicion I know what god they like to play too. So knowing that, understand that my next suggestions might not work. Instead of new features, enhance the ones we already have. They might have already been planned, and I don't want to credit something that's not accurate, but that's never stopped me before. Before the adventure modes, oh yeah, some of you don't even know, you've never gotten to play them. A fun little thing you could do with your friends was made up by the community. It was called Raid Boss. You'd 1v5, set up a few extra rules, and because of the way gold sharing works, one person would severely outlevel 5. So I'm not too sure if it's correlated, but then we got adventures, and it's like Raid Boss, MMO raids, essentially. Like mode of the day for longer than a day on steroids. That was phenomenal innovation for the game, 2 steps forward, but here's the 2 steps back. There was way too much emphasis on how pretty it was. You tried way too hard to incentivize people to play it. You had to queue up with people you didn't know, probably the worst part of it all, and you balanced it. Back to the top. I'm not a game dev, but how much time does it take to make something look nice? We're talking new assets, animations, UIs. Even if the cosmetic stuff doesn't take that much time, I know it stunts development. Let's say you made something, you get all the animations done, and then suddenly you're like, oh wait, I've got a better idea. Yeah, but you see, we already paid for these animations, and it would be a pain to do it all again. All these driving stances, the capture the flag game mode. How long did it take to put those carry flag animations on? Just clip it through the model. The emphasis should be on the core gameplay, and aesthetics should be on the back burner, or honestly, not at all. Another thing was forcing people to be with randoms in team-dependent modes. I don't care how fun and how anti-competitive something is, if it relies on teamwork to get something done, people are going to be toxic. Well, they're not carrying their weight. Well, they're taking this too serious. It's for fun. Either make it a free-for-all mode or balance it around party size. And when I say balance, I mean adjust, because the funnest stuff in Smite now is when stuff is broken. That's why people play that mode of the day stuff. So imagine a custom lobby, but you could control so much more. Imagine a setting that let Jormungandr use auto attack items. Imagine a setting that allowed you to build physical and magical items on a character. Imagine some more with me. A mode where you go in, you have one ability, and after you use it, you get another random one. Yes, it would look horrendous without the proper rigging, but who cares? I just want to see Ymir dash at somebody. If he's got a T-pose the whole time, okay. And it's going to be with your friends in a custom lobby, so there's no point in trying to balance it. On the small scale side, little check mark that lets abilities crit. Imagine that. And on the larger end, sandbox mode. Don't act like you're too good for it. Even Nintendo said, all right, you make it, smart guy. Hopefully it's not too late. You had content creators who focused on for fun. You design for fun, and then you try to balance it. This doesn't make both extremes happy. It just makes everybody angry centrists. Separate them and enunciate. For the competitive side, it is miserable learning this game. Innovate on your jungle practice. I'm pretty sure by now I'm the best Smite player, so long as the enemy team is always composed of a Ra, Thor, Ymir, Guan Yu, and a Neith, or 10 Odins. On the small scale, let them switch out gods. Let them switch out their own god. Little DPS calculator would be nice. Effective tankiness. A god model where I could swap items off of them. Put abilities on them. Make them use abilities. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. Let me stand in front of the robot, make it use its 1, make it use its 2, its 4. Something that professional players would actually use. Because on the competitive side, the game is either too hard to learn, or on the higher end, there's no need to go any further because no one can keep up, or it becomes very redundant. Don't have much use for a DPS calculator if I can just outshoot my opponent. I feel like the lower ends find this game intimidating and too much work. The higher ends don't find it serious, so it feels fruitless, and the for fun crowd just feel kind of inhibited. Stop trying to blend everyone, compartmentalize, separate, enunciate. I think that's why this community in general is perceived as so toxic and also not at the same time. Because if you're in League of Legends playing the main game mode, you're expected to be a sweaty tryhard. If you're playing ARAM, which is assault to them, it's not nearly as serious. I'm sure they're still flaming because it's an online game, but at least they're on the same page. In a match of Smite, you don't know if somebody's new, they're trying to be competitive, or they're just high eating Cheetos. But innovate on these two things, you can hit all three, and they do not have to be near each other. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now get out there and become the gods you were meant to be.